chosen ones. They're losing sleep over you right now. While you're living your life, there are people lying awake at 3 in the morning, replaying every conversation they've had with you, rewinding every interaction, analyzing every moment you looked at them just a little too long. They're panicking because they finally understand something terrifying. You see straight through them, and there's nothing they can do about it. Right now, someone who tried to play you is questioning everything about themselves because you knew their game before they even made their first move. Bro, what the hell is happening? Your sixth sense is giving them trust issues, and it's breaking their entire reality into pieces. Here's what nobody's telling you about why they're suddenly so uncomfortable around you. This isn't coincidence. This isn't paranoia. This is the universe confirming what you've always suspected. Your intuition is a weapon they have zero defense against. And in this conversation, you're going to discover exactly why your gift is driving them absolutely insane, why their masks are cracking under your gaze, and why that's the most powerful position you could possibly be in. Think of yourself as a lie detector they can't unplug, a truth serum they can't refuse, a mirror they can't avoid. And that mirror is showing them everything they've spent years trying to hide. Right now, at this very moment, there's someone thinking about you. Someone who tried to play you, tried to manipulate you, tried to sell you a story that your gut immediately rejected. They're lying awake, wondering how you knew, how you saw through their perfect performance when everyone else was applauding. They're scrolling through old conversations, trying to figure out where they slipped up. The truth? They didn't slip anywhere. You just see things that normal people miss, and that reality is tearing them apart. This isn't about you having some mystical power that fell from the sky. This is about survival, sharpening your senses until they became weapons. Every person who ever lied to your face taught you to read micro-expressions. Every betrayal trained your nervous system to detect inconsistency. Every manipulation attempt made you fluent in the language of deception. And now you can walk into any room and know immediately who's real and who's performing. That's not a curse, that's evolution. The pattern started early, didn't it? You were the kid who knew when adults were lying, even when they had everyone else convinced. The teenager who could feel which friendships would implode before anyone else saw the cracks. The young adult who predicted exactly how that relationship would end, while your friends said you were being negative. Then it happened exactly like you said it would, down to the last detail, and suddenly people started looking at you differently, not with admiration, with fear. They've spent years trying to make you doubt yourself, called you too sensitive when you were being accurate, told you that you overthink when you were actually reading the room correctly, accused you of creating drama when you were just stating facts. This wasn't accidental, this was strategic. Because if they could convince you that your perception was flawed, then they could continue operating in the shadows. If they could gaslight you into questioning your own knowing, then their secrets would stay safe. But you kept being right, annoyingly, consistently, undeniably right, and that broke their whole strategy. Here's what's happening in their heads right now, and it's absolutely delicious. Every person who's been running games around you is experiencing a crisis. They can't relax anymore, can't just coast on their usual lies because they know you're watching. Not with your eyes, but with something deeper, something that sees past their words into their intentions. They're checking themselves constantly now, monitoring every gesture, editing every sentence, trying to plug the holes in their facade before you spot them. And the beautiful irony, their nervousness makes them more transparent to you. The harder they try to hide, the more obvious they become. Your nervous system is picking up data that others completely miss. While someone is telling you a story, you're simultaneously processing their tone, body language, breathing patterns, and the gap between their words and their energy. Most people only hear the words. You're reading the entire composition. You catch the flutter of an eyelid that signals anxiety, the shift in posture that reveals deception, the change in vocal pitch that betrays hidden emotion. And your brain processes all of this in milliseconds, delivering the conclusion as a feeling, a knowing, a certainty that you can't explain but absolutely trust. This is why you know things before they happen, why your predictions are terrifyingly accurate. You're not seeing the future, you're reading the present so completely that the future becomes obvious. When someone shows you who they are through 1,000 tiny signals, you don't need a crystal ball to know what they'll do next. And when it plays out exactly as you knew it would, they act shocked that you weren't surprised. The smart ones have started avoiding you altogether, making excuses about why they can't meet up, finding reasons to keep conversations surface level, creating distance because your presence feels like standing under an interrogation light that reveals every flaw. They'll say they're busy or going through something, but you know the truth. They're exhausted from trying to maintain their mask around you, drained from the constant vigilance required to keep their real self hidden. Being around you costs them too much energy, so they retreat. And honestly, that's them doing you a favor. Anyone who can't be real with you has already disqualified themselves from your life. Others have gone the opposite direction. They're trying to get close, trying to figure out your secret, trying to understand how you do what you do, so they can either replicate it or defend against it. They study you like you're a puzzle they need to solve. They throw out test lies to see if you'll catch them. But there is no gimmick. This is just who you are, someone who survived by learning to read truth in a world full of liars. The manipulation tactics that work on everyone else crash and burn with you. They can't love bomb you because you feel the agenda underneath the affection. Can't gaslight you because you trust your perception more than their words. Can't triangulate you because you see the game they're playing with everyone involved. Every weapon in their arsenal becomes useless against someone who sees through the performance to the puppeteer pulling the strings. They're used to people who believe what they're told, but you don't believe. You know. And knowing is a completely different frequency that their tactics can't reach. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Here's where it gets really interesting. The ones who used to be master manipulators are finding their skills completely useless against you. Their usual tactics are falling flat. These are people who've spent years perfecting their craft, learning exactly which buttons to push, which words to use, which emotions to fake. But you're immune to their programming, and that's driving them absolutely crazy because they've never encountered someone they couldn't crack. They're used to getting inside people's heads, used to planting seeds of doubt and watching them grow, used to subtly steering conversations and relationships in directions that benefit them. But with you, none of it works. You see the seed before they plant it. You recognize the steering before the conversation even starts. You feel their intention before they form the words, and that makes you the most frustrating person they've ever encountered, because for the first time in their manipulative lives, they're powerless, and power is the only thing they understand. Some of them are becoming obsessed with you now, not in a romantic way, but in a "I need to figure this out" way. They're analyzing every interaction they've had with you, replaying conversations in their minds, trying to identify the exact moment you saw through them. They're asking mutual friends about you, studying your social media, looking for patterns or weaknesses they can exploit. But here's the thing about trying to analyze someone who operates from intuition. There's no logic to reverse engineer. There's no system to crack. You're not using a method, you're being yourself, and that's impossible to decode. What's really breaking them, though, is the mirror effect. Because being around you forces them to see themselves clearly, maybe for the first time ever. Your presence acts like a truth serum, not because you're doing anything special, but because your awareness makes them aware of themselves. They start noticing their own lies as they tell them, feeling their own manipulations as they attempt them, recognizing their own patterns as they play them out. You've become their involuntary consciousness, their unwanted self-awareness, and it's torture for them because most people have spent years building a self-image that protects them from their own truth. You shatter that protection just by existing. Some of them are actually changing their behavior now, not because they want to be better people, but because they can't stand the feeling of being so transparent. They're editing themselves in real time, trying to become someone you can't read, but that's impossible. The more they try to hide, the more obvious they become. It's like trying to become invisible by closing your eyes. They're catching themselves mid-lie now, stopping halfway through a manipulation because they can feel you seeing it. And in those moments of self-awareness, they hate you, not for anything you did, but for what you represent. The truth they've been running from their entire life, the trust issues they're developing are spreading beyond just you. They're starting to wonder if other people can see what you see. If they've been transparent all along and just didn't realize it, they're becoming paranoid about every interaction, questioning every relationship, doubting every conversation. You've planted a seed of doubt that's growing into a forest of insecurity. They can't trust themselves anymore because they know you see their self-deceptions, and if you can see them, maybe others can too. Their friends are starting to notice the changes, the sudden nervousness, the self-consciousness that wasn't there before. People are asking them what's wrong, why they seem different, and they can't explain that it's you, that your very existence has made them question everything about how they move through the world. So they make up other reasons, create other stories, but those lies feel hollow now because they know at least one person can see through them. The delicious irony in all of this, they're right to be paranoid, because once people start operating from truth instead of pretense, others do notice. When someone who's been confident suddenly becomes anxious, people pick up on it. When someone who's been smooth suddenly stumbles over their words, it creates questions. Your influence on them is becoming visible to their entire circle, and they can't explain it without admitting that someone exists who can see through them, so they're stuck, trapped between maintaining their facade for everyone else while knowing that at least one person sees the reality behind it. Let's talk about what this gift costs you, because it's not all victory and vindication. Knowing what you know is heavy. You never asked to be everyone's walking lie detector, never signed up to be the truth that makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes you wish you could just be ignorant like everyone else, just take things at face value, just believe what people tell you. But that's not your operating system anymore, and deep down you know you wouldn't trade this clarity for their comfortable blindness, because this gift has saved you more times than you can count. You've probably tried to dim it down, pretended you don't see what you see, smiled and nodded when people fed you obvious lies, bitten your tongue when you wanted to call out the deception. But it never works because your energy speaks louder than your words. People can feel that you know, even when you don't say anything. You have to decide every day how to use this perception, whether to speak up or stay silent, whether to reveal what you know or let them think they're fooling you. It's a constant calculation of cost and benefit. Sometimes the price of truth feels too high. Sometimes you wonder if peace is worth more than honesty. But then you remember all the situations this gift helped you avoid. All the people you didn't trust, who later showed their true colors to everyone else. All the disasters you sidestepped because you knew better. This ability isn't a curse, it's armor. It's what's kept you safe in a world full of people who smile while they plot. The isolation tactics have probably started by now. When they realize they can't fool you, can't control you, can't figure you out, they create distance, but not obvious distance. They're too smart for that. They create emotional distance while maintaining physical proximity. They include you just enough to avoid suspicion, but exclude you from anything real, anything that matters. You've noticed this, the way conversations shift when you enter the room, the way certain topics become off limits, the way they share their secrets with everyone except you. They'll tell you it's because they don't want to burden you, because they value your friendship too much to complicate it. But you know the truth. They're terrified of what you'll see if they let you too close, scared of what you'll know without them having to say it. So they keep you at arm's length while pretending everything is fine. And honestly, this is them telling on themselves. Their avoidance is a confession. Their distance is an admission. They're basically putting up a sign that says, I have something to hide, and this person can see it. Some of them have started creating elaborate stories about you to explain away your ability. They tell others you're too sensitive, too intense, too much in your head. They need to pathologize your gift, because acknowledging it as real would mean acknowledging that they're not as in control as they pretend to be. So they paint you as the problem, the one who creates drama by seeing things that aren't there, even though their reaction proves that everything you see is absolutely there. The lady doth protest too much. Their defensiveness is your confirmation, but here's what they don't understand. Their attempts to isolate you only sharpen your abilities. Every time they exclude you, you get better at reading the room from the outside. Every time they lie about you, you get better at recognizing patterns of deception. Every time they try to gaslight you into doubting your perception, you get more confident in trusting it. They're not weakening you. They're training you, turning you into an even more precise instrument of truth detection. Every attack makes you stronger. Every lie makes you sharper. Every manipulation attempt upgrades your software. You're watching them unravel in real time. The confident ones are showing cracks of insecurity. The kind ones are revealing hidden cruelty. The successful ones are exposing desperate emptiness, and they know you're watching. Know you're cataloging every inconsistency, every contradiction, every moment where the mask slips and the real face shows through. Some of them have started preemptively explaining themselves to you, offering justifications for things you haven't even questioned yet, telling on themselves, confessing to crimes you didn't know they committed, apologizing for thoughts they assume you've read. In their paranoia, they're revealing more than your intuition ever could have shown you. The weight of this gift comes with responsibility. Not to them, but to yourself. You have to protect your perception from their attempts to corrupt it. You have to trust your knowing even when everyone around you says you're wrong. You have to stand firm in your truth, even when it costs you relationships. Because what good is connection built on blindness? What value is acceptance purchased with self-betrayal? You didn't develop this gift to make other people comfortable. You developed it to keep yourself safe. And that's still its highest purpose. Every betrayal sharpened your senses. Every lie taught you to read truth. Every manipulation made you impossible to manipulate. This wasn't random. This was training. The universe put you through the hardest curriculum because you were capable of graduating from it. While others were learning to trust easily, you were learning to trust accurately. While others were developing social skills, you were developing survival skills. And now you're operating on a level that most people can't even comprehend. You're reading the code while they're still trying to learn the alphabet. Your sixth sense isn't giving them trust issues, it's revealing the trust issues they already had. It's exposing the fraud they were already committing. It's bringing to light the deception they were already practicing. You're not the problem, you're the mirror, and they hate what they see in it. They hate that someone exists who can't be fooled by their performance. Someone who sees past the costume to the person underneath. Someone who knows their truth before they speak it. That's not your fault. That's their fear. And their fear is not your responsibility to manage. Remember that time you called it, when you told them exactly what was going to happen, and they laughed, called you dramatic, said you were overthinking. Then it happened exactly like you predicted, down to the last detail. Suddenly they weren't laughing anymore. Suddenly they were looking at you different, like you were dangerous, like you knew something you shouldn't know. That's when the real games began. That's when they started trying to convince you that your gift was actually a problem. But you being right wasn't the problem. Them being wrong was the problem. You seeing clearly wasn't the issue. Them living in illusion was the issue. Ronos, I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your destiny engine for $1 today, join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks, and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. This gift makes you dangerous to people who operate in darkness. Your presence is light, and light reveals what was hidden. You're not trying to expose anyone, you're just being yourself. But yourself is so honest, so clear, so perceptive, that it automatically illuminates the shadows where others hide their true nature. They experience you as aggressive when you're just accurate. They feel attacked when you're just aware. They think you're judging when you're just observing. Their discomfort is their conscience speaking, and they're blaming you for the voice they hear in their own head. The craziest part, you're not even trying most of the time. This just happens automatically, like breathing. Someone walks up with a smile and friendly greeting, but something in your gut screams danger. A person tells you they're fine, but you feel the storm brewing underneath. Someone promises you the world, but you already know they'll disappear in 3 weeks. And you're right, always right. And it's making them lose their minds, because they can't figure out how to beat someone who isn't playing by the normal rules of social interaction. Think about what you're actually processing when someone interacts with you. While they're crafting their words carefully, you're reading 100 other signals they don't even know they're sending. The micro-expression that flashes across their face for a tenth of a second before they compose themselves. The subtle shift in their breathing pattern when they touch on a sensitive topic. The way their energy contracts when they're hiding something versus how it expands when they're being genuine. You're not just hearing their story, you're feeling the truth underneath it. And that truth has a texture, a weight, a frequency that your body recognizes before your mind can name it. This is why they can't rehearse their way past you. They can practice their lies in the mirror all day long, can memorize their fake stories until they sound natural, can train themselves to maintain eye contact and control their voice. But they can't control the energy signature that radiates from their core. They can't fake the authenticity frequency, and you pick up on that frequency the way a radio picks up a signal, automatically, effortlessly, without even thinking about it. They're broadcasting their truth on a channel they don't know exists, and you're receiving it loud and clear. Trump addicts, some of them have figured this out by now. They know that words won't work on you, so they've shifted tactics. They're trying to overwhelm you with emotion instead, crying to manipulate your sympathy, getting angry to make you back down, playing victim to make you feel guilty for what you see. But you can feel the difference between genuine emotion and performed emotion. Real tears have a different energy than manufactured ones. You've become their walking nightmare, the embodiment of their worst fear that someone might actually see who they really are. They're checking themselves constantly, second-guessing every word, every gesture, every expression, because they know you'll catch the lie before it fully forms. They're exhausted from trying to maintain their facade around you, drained from the constant vigilance required to keep their mask from slipping. And the beautiful irony is that their nervousness only makes them more transparent to you. Their fear is a beacon that draws your attention exactly where they don't want it to go. Watch what happens when they're around you versus when they're around others. With everyone else, they're smooth, confident, in control. Their performance is flawless because their audience is easy. But when you show up, the whole show changes. They stumble over words they've said 1,000 times. Lopolas, their timing is off, their jokes fall flat, their charm feels forced, because they're no longer performing, they're defending. And defense requires a completely different energy than offense. They're playing a game they're not trained for, and it shows. You've probably noticed them watching you watch them. That meta-awareness where they're so focused on how you're perceiving them that they lose track of everyone else in the room. They'll be in the middle of a conversation with someone else, but their attention keeps drifting to you, checking to see if you bought their story, monitoring your reactions, trying to gauge what you're thinking. And that divided attention makes them sloppy, makes them make mistakes they wouldn't normally make, all because your presence in the room changes the entire game board. The really fascinating part is how this affects their relationships with people who aren't you. Because once someone knows they're transparent to one person, they start wondering who else can see them. They become paranoid that your perception isn't unique, that maybe they've been obvious all along and just didn't know it, so they start treating everyone with the same caution they use with you, second-guessing everything, over-explaining, defending themselves against accusations that haven't been made, and people notice. They notice when someone who was always confident suddenly seems insecure, when someone who was always direct suddenly becomes evasive. Your influence on them is changing how they show up everywhere, not just around you. Your perception doesn't come with an off switch. It doesn't care about social niceties or making others comfortable. You see what you see, you know what you know, and what you know is usually the truth they're working overtime to conceal. That makes you dangerous. Not because you would hurt them, but because you could expose them, because your existence threatens their entire game. Most people operate on the assumption that their inner world is private, that their thoughts and intentions are safely locked away. But you're like a walking scanner for the soul, picking up energy shifts and subconscious signals they don't even know they're broadcasting. This is evolution in action. Your brain is wired differently now. Your nervous system processes information that others can't even detect. While they're still trying to understand the words someone is saying, you've already analyzed tone, energy, intention, and the gap between surface and depth. You're operating on a different frequency. You're seeing life in high definition, while everyone else is still watching standard definition. And you can't turn it off, can't dumb it down, can't pretend to be blind just to make others feel safe about their secrets. They're basically doing your work for you by eliminating themselves from your circle. Anyone who needs you to be less perceptive isn't safe for you to be around. Anyone who wants you to doubt your knowing is invested in keeping you confused. Anyone who tells you that you're too much is really saying that you're too much for them to manipulate. And that's information you need. That's the universe protecting you by showing you who can't be trusted with your truth. The ones who stay are the ones who have nothing to hide. The people who show up as themselves don't fear your perception because there's nothing for you to uncover. They find your gift refreshing instead of threatening. They appreciate that they don't have to perform around you. They value that you see them clearly and love them anyway. Those are your people, the ones who don't flinch when you look at them, the ones who don't scramble to explain themselves, the ones who meet your knowing with their own authenticity. But let's be honest about something most people won't tell you. This gift isolates you in ways that go beyond just losing fake people, because even the real ones sometimes struggle with how much you see. Even authentic people have moments they'd rather keep private, thoughts they're not proud of, feelings they're working through, and knowing that you can sense these things before they're ready to share them can make them feel exposed, not because they're hiding anything malicious, but because privacy is a human need, and your gift doesn't always respect that boundary. This is where the weight really hits, where you have to make choices about what you acknowledge and what you pretend not to see. Because sometimes seeing everything isn't about catching lies, sometimes it's about catching pain, vulnerability, shame, things people aren't ready to face yet, let alone have witnessed by someone else. And you have to decide in those moments whether your gift is a spotlight or a flashlight, whether you're exposing or illuminating, whether you're invading or understanding. That's the responsibility nobody talks about when they romanticize intuition. You've probably developed your own code of ethics around this, your own rules about when to speak and when to stay silent, when to let people know you see them, and when to give them the dignity of their privacy. Because not every truth needs to be voiced, not every perception needs to be shared. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do with your gift is nothing. Just hold the knowing quietly and let people reveal themselves in their own timing. That's mastery, that's control, that's using your power wisely instead of wielding it like a weapon. Your sixth sense is a gift that was earned through experience, carved into your neural pathways by necessity. Every person who tried to deceive you contributed to its development. Every situation that required you to trust your gut strengthened it. Every moment you chose your perception over popular opinion validated it. This isn't something you can fake or learn from a book. This is something that gets written into your DNA through lived experience. Through having to survive among people who smiled while they betrayed you, through learning that your intuition was more reliable than anyone's words. They want to know your secret. They're desperate to understand how you do it. But here's what they'll never grasp. You can't fake this level of awareness. You can't shortcut your way to perception that was forged in fire. This is something that comes from walking through darkness and developing night vision, from being lied to so many times that you learned to hear truth, from being manipulated enough times that you became impossible to manipulate. Their comfortable life never required them to develop these abilities. Your difficult life demanded it. So when they ask you how you always know, understand that they're really asking how to defend against you. They want the manual so they can find the loopholes. They want the blueprint so they can build better disguises. But there is no manual. There is no blueprint. There's just you, honed by experience, sharpened by betrayal, refined by survival, into someone who sees what others miss. And that's not something they can learn. That's something you earned. The trust issues they're developing aren't about you. They're about themselves. They're realizing that if you can see through them, maybe they're not as good at hiding as they thought. Maybe their secrets aren't as secret. Maybe their lies aren't as convincing. Maybe their manipulations aren't as subtle. You've become the mirror that shows them their true face, and they despise what they see. So instead of changing themselves, they try to break the mirror, but you can't break something that was forged in the fire of 1,000 deceptions. This is your power, not that you can see through lies, but that you survived everything that taught you how. Not that you make others uncomfortable, but that you trust yourself enough to honor what you perceive. Not that you're different, but that you're awake while they're still sleeping. Your sixth sense isn't giving them trust issues. It's revealing the issues they already had. It's exposing the game they were already playing. It's shining light on the darkness they were already carrying. You're not the problem, chosen one. You're the solution. You're the truth in a world built on comfortable lies. And yes, that makes people nervous, but their nervousness is confirmation that you're exactly where you need to be, seeing exactly what you need to see, knowing exactly what you need to know. Trust it. Trust yourself. Because you've been right too many times for it to be coincidence, and everyone around you knows it, even if they'll never admit it, especially the ones who can't sleep at night, wondering what else you know.